Tom isn't even from here. He has a better southern drawl than anybody else. You know, that doesn't require your permission. It's like I want to give him some suspenders every time he says that. You know? I've read poetry at Pepperidge Farm. So what I'd like to do, he will do that. So what I'd like to do is I want to go ahead and start this round off with our newest voice on the list. If that's all right, did you want to go first or did you need some time? All right, cool.
It's all words.
Okay. So is it Henschel?
Yeah.
All right.
Just stick with the Ivan part. Nobody can say Angel.
I know the struggle. I haven't talked to you about my last name. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ivan.
I come before you today with no credentials. I'm not published. Nobody knows me. I started doing this with a fountain pen when I was in graduate school in the back of notebooks. Graduated to a Royal manual typewriter. I thought that was great stuff. And I finally got a selector to have one of those self-correcting things on it, and I am going to look over my glasses at you. I kind of look at, I here as interested in the notion of change, and I kind of look at change in the big picture. This is called big birds. Cities have obliterated the landscape because the land is gone. It's been usurped by streets and sidewalks, buildings and monuments, to construction. So now we call them cityscapes, but we cannot escape except on the streets and the sidewalks. Although the land is extinct and invisible, the cities have brought cranes back to life, swooping cranes. They seem to rise phoenix-like, swoop in the dark of the night, and hover over where the land used to be, and give birth to the buildings and the monuments of concrete, glass, and steel. They are the aviary marvels of the city skyscape. They last for a few months, and then overnight, while we are not watching, they fly away, leaving behind only the new erecture that hides the land once more, and leaving us to wonder where they went. This is called Right Now. After being recently rebuked, albeit mildly, for revealing a feeling of irrelevance to certain persons, places, and circumstances in the world right now, a background search could not be avoided or a derivational ditch digging delayed. To surely define irrelevance in order to determine whether or not right now that nagging feeling was itself relevant or irrelevant, at least right now. And irrelevant is not a double negative, as is irregardless, regardless of what you may think. And non-relevant is not the same as irrelevant, because non-relevant merely means not important. But that's not relevant here, right now. Somewhat predictably, the dictionaries, the OED and others less highly esteemed, were thwartsome in their first revelations, defining irrelevance only in terms of not being or without relevance in self, explanations which were only, of course, circuitous detours, meanderings away from and around any desired enlightenment and deferring any immediate gratification. Those nuanced offerings seemed in and of themselves irrelevant to the effort and a deterrent only to turn the answer in upon itself, yielding irresolution, irrevelations. Searching back and behind irrelevant in order to derive what being without relevance was or was not eventually yielded a lexicon of wordways and pathways, but without any immediate answers, at least not right now. Being relevant can make us French, we can be apropos, or it may hint at even being more European by stubbornly insisting on being germane. And of course, what could be more comforting than to be appropriate to the current time or of contemporary interest? Both chronological, but not helpful, not right now. But although a particularly favorite attribute of being relevant was being applicable, an even more tempting descriptor is to be opposite, which turns out to be the opposite of opposite. So not so circuitous a pathway, this time as perhaps it is circumspect, or should you say at least circumspeculative, right on the money, but not right now. Continuing to look around at the perimeters and the parameters of relevance, Further revelations endorse the notion that relevance can be pertinent. At the risk then of sounding impertinent or irrelevant, irregardless, it cannot be disregarded that the term appendage is cited as well, but this should be viewed as no more importune or less opportune when considering that your hand is not just relevant to your arms. This is called percolation. Forever, it seemed, perched on that left back burner of the Chambers gas range in my mother's kitchen was a coffee pot. Dull gun metal grayish that when used could mesmerize with the way the water, when heated, would bubble up, gurgle and become visible under the glass knob on the top, at first clear, then growing more and more, first amber, then brown, finally coffee. As a child, the percolator was a wondrous mystery because I was never there when the ground coffee was put in, the substance needed for real brew, something done earlier before I was awake, I think. The evolution from clear to that brownness was unclear. And then one day my grandfather explained how a percolator works, allowing the heated water to rise up just a bit at a time, then drip back down through the coffee itself until the water was at least finally become coffee. But the process was one that required repetition in order for the transformation from water to nectar to become complete. Good strong coffee does not happen right away. Poems especially, but all good writings, work in much the same way. It begins with the clear water of words standing alone, cold, disconnected, disparate, waiting to be energized, heated to the point of rising to the occasion, only to be filtered back down through thought and thought through as often as necessary until the transformation into the message has gone from amber, vague at first, weak, then to a rich dark brown that the mind's eye can feel, smell, and taste. This then is the admonition. Turning off the heat, letting the fire die out too soon, indeed even removing the cauldron that you are stirring from the fire itself will leave you only with a pale, disappointing brew because you did not fan the flame. Let your efforts bubble up often enough and drip back through the mind's substance that prompted you to begin in the first place. That is what makes this so damn difficult. There is nothing even close to immediate gratification when it comes to words. There is only the drip, drip, drip of blood, sweat, and percolation. Thank you.